Welcome everybody to an introduction to Chat APIs. I'm Charles DeWall. I'm a lead software engineer at PureCloud. We're excited to see you here. There's a lot of new stuff here, and we're really excited to see what the partners and the customers will do with it and create something even beyond what we expect. So here's a quick agenda. Oh, by the way, this is my first presentation ever, and my first time attending this conference, so I will mess up, and it will be fun. And if I don't faint, you can come and see me again tomorrow and have another presentation, and I'm much more likely to faint. So we're going to cover creating a widget deployment. Widget deployment is the configuration for your chat widget inside of the PureCloud environment. This is how we identify your widget from all of the other ones making requests in. So if it's misbehaved, that's how we identify it. If it's a really great one, we give you a prize. We'll show you how to create a conversation using the API, send messages, look at the participation in a conversation, which is known as the members. Send and receive typing indicators, and we'll go over all of the various messages that these things generate, and so on. First, creating a widget deployment. So I promise this is the only slide with really corny animations. It is, however, my favorite, so I didn't cut it. So the way that you do this is you open up PureCloud, you open up the admin section. If you don't have this, you may have to add a permission to your user in order to see it. But I imagine if you guys are configuring widgets, you probably already have it. Then you search for widgets. You click the little widget button there. It's pretty straightforward. Click the create widget button. Again, straightforward. And then you fill out the information here. The name and the description. This will help you discriminate between the different widgets that you may have configured. So if you have one widget for your sales page and one widget for your marketing page, you would name them differently, and you'd be able to see that in the list view, which I won't go over here. But then you make sure to select third party because you're building your own, so it's not a PureCloud widget. As you can see, we have a couple different PureCloud ones here. Hit save, and then you copy the deployment key. This is the last UI slide, I promise. Everything else is good. I know that's what you guys are see. Alright, so we'll create a chat conversation now. Alright, so the way that you do that is by making a post request to this API here. Web chat guest conversations. All of the widget requests will go in through the web chat/guest. So everything will be in there. You need to include your organization ID, the deployment ID that we copied from the deployment on the previous slide. You'll need to include the queue name that you're intending to route to. The target type is queue. There will be more different kinds of target types. Particularly workflows. I don't know how many people have used Automate or anything like that, but that's coming to chat, so you'll be able to use that and identify here as a target your workflow. Any member info, how you want to identify the user to the agent, can be passed in the member info section. The display name, the role, obviously is customer. If you pass anything else in there, it'll throw an error. We'll look up your deployment and cut it off. But and then the first name, last name, phone number, anything else that you want to add in there. It's an open string map that you can pass in information. This information will be displayed to the agent. So, phone number, email, kind of thing, account number. As a response, you'll get back, hopefully if you do it right, 200. Everything, the entire API is JSON, as are, I think, all PureCloud APIs. Yes, Tim tell me that's you run with the APIs. You need to, as a part of the response, you'll get back the correlation ID and the request state. If you have an issue with any PureCloud API that you're using, make sure to include this in your care support ticket. this is what we can use to look up the individual requests that you made and look up where it may have gone wrong or anything like that. So it's a great thing to include in any kind of report that you make. All right, so then you get back 4 fields, and you need to save all 4 of these fields if you intend to reconnect. So if you're creating a widget that will support navigation, like so the user's on a page or talking to an agent, they click a button, navigate away, and then you want the chat window to come back, you need all 4 of these fields to connect back and be able to continue to participate in the conversation. So the conversation ID, obviously, because you want to get back into this one, not another one. The JWT. So this is a JSON web token. How many people are familiar with JWTs? Thank you, Tim. Justin, good. So the JWT is a JSON object, essentially, that is base64 encoded, and then as an addendum to that is a cryptographic signature that we sign privately. So you can openly decode a JWT, but if you make any attempt to change it, the signature won't match, so you won't be able to create another signature. So you can actually open up the JWT and inspect it and look at it. It's not a part of the published API, but it is pretty stable, I think. So you want to save the JWT. You'll need to submit that with each subsequent request to the PureCloud APIs as a guest. Then you'll get back the event stream URI. Now this is an important one. This is how you'll receive all of your live events. This is a secure WebSocket URL where events will come back in JSON format, and we'll go over a lot of those events in this presentation. An important thing to note is just because you've created the conversation and you've gotten back to 200, you will not be routed to an agent until you actually connect to the WebSocket. And similarly, once you have disconnected from the WebSocket and there's no connection to the WebSocket, the conversation will end. So if the guest navigates away from your page and is gone for more than, I think it's 80 seconds actually, the conversation will be ended because the agent would be sitting there waiting for a customer who's gone. There is some talks of increasing that timeout and making it configurable in your deployment. So say you might have a use case where you want more time than that. But it's important to keep this URL, and I don't publish it here what the format of that is because it is subject to change as we change the domain and subdomains it actually connects to. It includes the JWT, but it's also provided next to it because it may not in the future. So this is just you just take this URL, create a WebSocket, and you'll receive events. You don't have to send anything up to it ever. It's a one-way stream, and you'll just receive a lot of events, and the conversation will start. In the member ID, this identifies the guest in the conversation. So any messages that the guest sends, they will say that they're from the member ID. And any participation changes, like they disappeared or they've I guess they can either leave or send a message, or they send type indicator or something like that. That would come across as from this member ID. So you need all 4 of these in order to participate in a conversation. All right. So before I move on, I would love some questions.
Is there any support for fallback in the event WebSockets are not supported because of the client environment?
Is there any support for?
Well, for instance, for long coding Ajax or something like that, if the client's browser can't make a WebSocket connection for some reason.
If the client's web browser can't make a WebSocket connection. So at PureCloud we support IE11 and up. That's kind of how we think about it. But it's IE11, Chrome, Firefox, Safari. Please correct me when I go wrong. Mobile, Chrome, Samsung. So all of those support WebSockets, and they've been supported for a while now. IE9 actually.
Sometimes there are web proxies that get in the way of WebSockets.
Really, because WebSockets are actually over. This is port 443.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
it'll fail.
You're better off on 443.
Yeah. So the WebSockets are on 443.
Yeah.
So this is HTTPS. So it's an upgrade from HTTPS request. So you shouldn't have problems, but it will fail if you can't connect to the WebSocket. To answer your question bluntly,
Yep.
Yeah, it's got to be supported by the guest. if you have a use case where you need something else, contact somebody because we can add it. It's definitely possible. Okay. Yeah.
So I know we jump into the API right away, but just to back up a little bit, let's say I have the website, it's public, and I also have the PureCloud already set up, handling voice and all that. Now, as a developer, someone asks me, hey, can you set up chat?
Mm-hmm.
So how would I do? What's the, because we jump into the how to use the API right away.
Yeah.
But how am I going to say where to start with? Should I create a widget on the website, or I'm still a little bit confused with that.
Okay, so we provide a chat widget. We actually provide multiple, as you saw before, and there's documentation on how to start using that. This presentation is going to be more into how to build your own. So there is after this presentation where we go over the APIs, there is a workshop tomorrow, and I will literally walk out of that workshop and into a tense workshop, and I'll try and bring all the people with me, and we're going to actually build one. So we'll actually go over what you need to do to integrate that into your website and build your own and make it custom as you want. Okay. Sound good?
Yeah.
Just to add on to that real quick, so the reason we didn't cover the out-of-the-box chat widget is because we didn't need a whole session to teach you how to copy and paste a couple lines. It's super simple. It literally is that. You copy the script tag, you put your JSON configuration with just a couple things, like basically what you send as a request to start a chat, and then it adds the widget and does everything for you there. So that's published on our Developer Center. If you want to try that out, it's out there, and you can try it out today.
Okay, copy and paste.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I'm actually the team lead for that widget as well, so I work on it. Yes?
Sorry about my English. If I have a conversation with chat and it is closed, and after I want to open another new conversation, can I reuse the conversation I did to continue the same conversation, but with two interactions?
So he's asking about, he wants to, when the conversation is ended, he wants to be able to reuse the conversation ID to continue it in two different interactions. No is the answer to your question, and I'll give it a caveat. No, you cannot continue a closed conversation right now. Now, that is a planned feature, is to be able to, when you end a conversation, to be able to have it go to another agent, and that agent be able to see the message history of that conversation. It's known as asynchronous chat. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. My second question is about the agents. Can I route to a particular agent?
You can set it up that way. Particularly with chat workflows, you can set it up, I believe, to route to a particular agent. Historically, with before chat APIs, it was like a back-end way that wasn't published. If you want that, please contact somebody in product, because we can definitely build it, and all the code is there. It's not released, so.
And now's a good time to plug the website ideas.mypurecloud.com, or something like ideas.genesis.aha.io. Remember that. If you don't remember that, just go to the developer forum, and we can direct you there. There's a link on the Developer Center as well. You can submit enhancement requests and new feature ideas. So that's a direct way to contact product management if you don't know the specific person you want to talk to.
Yeah, you're going to have to do all of my presentations.
This is what I do all day.
Yes, sir.
Developer.mypurecloud.com. Go there, there's a link to the Ideas Lab.
Yeah. Tim runs developer.mypurecloud.com, so knows very well. Any other questions before we move on? I should have started with questions. Sounds like there was some, even without chat APIs. No? All right, well, there'll be plenty of opportunities as we continue. All right. Sending a message. So I figured I'd jump right into, okay, I've created this conversation, I've connected to the stream. I want to send a message. I want to make sure that this works. Pretty straightforward, actually. You make a post request to this path in the MyPureCloud API, and it will create a message. Super simple, super simple. you put the body in the JSON object there and submit it. You'll get back a response. This is what a message looks like in PureCloud. So when you receive live events, it'll look very similar. You get a 200 and the ID of the message. You need to keep track of the messages and the state of members, particularly the messages. There is no guarantee that you won't get double delivery of a message. Maybe you're reconnecting and you might get the message again. So you keep track of the IDs in something like a hash or a map. And as a message comes in, you see if you already have it. If you already have it, you just ignore it. So it's important to keep track of that. The conversation ID, obviously, the sender ID. So this is the member ID. Remember, we got the guest member ID in the create request. This is the member ID of the person who sent it. When you receive a message from a member that you don't already know about, you should then, there's another request that will go over, make a request out to go and get the information about that user, their username, their avatar image, and whatnot, so that you can display this to the user.
Sorry? Can I answer media? Videos, PDF files?
No, you cannot. He's asking, can you send media in this chat API? Not yet. And it's definitely a not yet. It's not a no. It's fine. Yes.
What if the customer that sent the message disconnects?
What if the person who sent the message disconnects?
They distracted, or, and they just decided they didn't want to continue.
Okay. They disconnect and the conversation will be ended. Are you talking about the guest or the agent?
The conversation. They started a chat and then they just disconnected. How would the person in the agent on the PureCloud know?
Oh, they'll receive a disconnect event for that.
Oh, they do?
Yeah. We don't just leave them out there. Yeah. So yes, how will the agent know that the guest disconnected? We'll go over that actually under, it's like one of the last slides, ending a conversation. There's a specific event for that member, and it says this member disconnected. And if it's the guest, then conversation's over. So this is the event that you get on WebSocket. For right now, I think you can ignore the topic name. More important is down at the bottom, the metadata type. You'll see it says message. It's important that you look for the type and you don't assume it. I guess that's the next slide. I don't want to go to that. You got a question for that. But so you've got all of the information here. You've got the body, you've got the body type. The body type is standard for a text message. There will be other types of messages that you'll receive in the future. You've got the ID of the message if you want to look up further information on it. There's a lot here, but it's really just boils down to all you want is to make sure that the type, body type, and body, and just display the body. So this is the slide I was cutting myself off for. What should your widget do when it receives an unrecognized event type? So if you look down here at the bottom, I've got a pointer in a second. Whiz-bang message. That was not the kind of message that you were expecting. So PureCloud sent you a message, you don't know what to do with it. This probably means that we've implemented a new feature. So when you receive a message that is not a standard message and you have not implemented that feature, you should ignore that message. Don't display it thinking that the body is always displayable, because there's some other body types that are not displayable. Maybe it's going to come out as JSON or something like that. This is a transport for a lot of different kinds of events. As you'll see, there's lots of kinds of events. Type indicators, another kind of event. Super simple API. You just make a post to this path. I'm not going to read them out. You obviously pass in your JWT. This is the format. I don't know if I actually remember that before. But with the header, the authorization, and the bearer, and the JWT. The slides will be made available, by the way. I see you taking pictures, so. Yeah. And also go to developer.mypurecloud.com, where Tim and team have actually documented all of this already. So yeah, typing indicators. Typing indicators are sent anytime a user is typing. You want to show that to the agent. Also, when the agent is typing, we send typing indicators back. So you can have this nice, you're about to receive a message kind of display. There is no typing indicator off. Everybody always asks about this. The way that typing indicators work is when a user starts typing, every 5 seconds that they are continuously typing, you should send one of these HTTP requests up. Now, if they stop typing, then the indicator will show on the other side for those 5 seconds. Also, if you receive a message from that same user, then you can assume that they're done typing. What we did is we effectively cut out the typing indicator off, which can kind of be buggy and can leave some, create some issues in other protocols. So yeah. So this is the response you get back. There's really not much interesting here. We just had to give you something back. So you've created a typing indicator that everybody should know about it. And then you receive a typing indicator event. And as you can see down here, that is the message type. So this would be one that you would expect. This correlation ID will match the actual response in the request. And the thing you want to look at is the sender. So when you receive this message, similar to the messages API, you want to actually look up that person if you don't already know who they are, make a request to go out and get that member, and get the info so that you can say, Charles Wall is typing, or the agent is typing, depending on how you build your widget and what you want to display. Any questions about this? No? I exhausted them all. All right. Getting message history. So, getting message history is important when you're building a widget that reconnects. So when you're handling things like page navigation, when the user clicks on a different page in Amazon, they want to continue to chat, you'll need to get the previous messages so you can display. So there's an API for this. It's pretty straightforward. I'm not going to read the path, but you make a GET request to this API, pass in your bearer token, and this is what the response looks like. And I'll go through this. So you get back an entities list, which has all of the messages. And as you can see, there's other kinds of messages, other kinds of body types that you can receive. And we'll go over that one later. And you'll get back the body. This is the message that we looked at earlier. It's just a list of those. The interesting thing here is this next down here. So we only return the first 100 messages in a request. I think that's the right number. The first 100 messages in a request to get history. If let's say there's 101, we actually, right here, we pass you a URL that you can get the next set, get the next 100 from. So, and that one will similarly return another, next URL if there are more than that. So if there are 300, then you'll have to make 3 requests. The first 2 will have a next, and the last one will have nothing in the next property. Yeah. So I actually just wrote up a quick, I would call it pseudocode, but it's really JavaScript. Of how you would actually, what this would look like. So you would get the history, use the results, take the messages, and you concatenate them together. You can concatenate it down here again. And every time you receive a next, you would do this again. So you would actually just do a get on the result, passing your data to each time, and then return the messages. Anybody have any questions?
This is only just for that conversation, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's one of the parameters here, is the conversation ID. Another thing here is the last message ID. The last message ID is useful when your client disconnects for some reason, but it stays on the page. So let's say their internet connection went out for 20 seconds. This happens all the time. What if they miss the messages? So you need to be able to repopulate those messages. So what you would do is you do a get history, you reconnect it, do a get history, but you know some of the messages already, so you don't need all of them. So you'd say everything after the last message that I've received. So you pass that in right here, and you get just a subset of that. Now, what I will advise is do not poll. we don't have a way to catch you yet, but we will. Use the WebSocket to get messages on a regular basis. When you reconnect, actually, use this request. Please.
So I suppose the messages are sorted by timestamp,
Yes.
which is determined by the server. So basically, the timestamp when the messages arrived at the server.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, so he asked, he assumed the messages were sorted by the timestamp. And yeah, so every message includes a timestamp, and this is to help you, when you receive a message, actually display it in order. So it's important to note that maybe not the last message that you chronologically received is going to be the last message ID, but the one that has the latest timestamp. So you should keep track of that, which one has the latest timestamp, and use that to make a reconnect message request. All right, so we already did that. Getting members. So I promised this. So what state is the conversation? I've created this conversation. How do I know if there's an agent? How do I know if I'm talking to a bot? What do I display to this customer? Maybe the conversation is over. I need to know that, right? So there's this request to get all of the members, get all the people who are able to send messages and who have ever been able to send messages in a given conversation. It's the members URL. It's pretty straightforward. Passing the bearer. All these requests are super simple, and it's designed that way to make it easy to build on top of. All right, so you get an entities list, and it's a set of members. You have the member ID, the type of the member, so you have different roles, and we'll go over those in a little bit. The time that they joined, and their current state, and then any specific information that they provided. Right here is an ACD member. This is actually a queue. So when the conversation first starts and you get routed to a queue, the queue actually joins the conversation. And you can use this to queue off or to key that to the user that they're waiting for an agent. When you're in the queue and the ACD is joined, that means you're waiting for an agent. So that's what you should be displaying. The queue name would be the display name. So you could actually make it so that it displayed you're waiting in the marketing queue, for instance. All this information is provided for you. Here's an agent. I couldn't put it all on the side. Here's an agent, so they have a different role. Their join date's the same, and you'll notice here they have the agent avatar image. So when you set an image in PureCloud as an avatar image for your agent, you can actually, in your custom widget, display that to the end user. So it's pretty cool integration. And then of course the state is really important. So now, I'll go over, so there's the customer, this is obvious, agent, obvious is a real person. Workflow, this is planned, this is, how many people have used workflows? Did I ask this already? No? Yes, workflows, yes. Workflows, it's like IVR for chat, I guess. So you create a chat in, and it's like an automated system that starts responding, and based on the information that you pass into it, it might put you into a queue, it might route you directly to an agent, it might hang up on you, it might send you a message. So all these things are possible. It can, go ahead.
That's IVR flow, like for the voice, or it's different?
It's very similar to IVR, but it's for digital channels.
Is it defined in the architect?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's for web chat.
Yeah, and this is planned. It's not out yet. It's like within a month, probably. I'd say. I didn't say that. Nobody heard me say that.
So it's
Product, this is recorded.
It's on the roadmap, right?
Yes, it's on the. That's the correct. Thank you. It's on the roadmap. That is how I'm supposed to describe. It's in testing. I think is a better way to explain it. But, all right. So workflows will come, and it's really good. I got to tell you guys, it's really awesome. You create a chat in. It tells you, hi, happy Thursday, or what's it, Tuesday, happy Tuesday. Welcome to the conference, and it'll ask you a question. Oh man, that's great. So there's workflows, and then also planned as bots. Totally not released yet. Probably not supposed to be in my slide, but it's that would be another kind of participant that you might receive in there. So I would like the widgets to be able to handle that gracefully. An important note is if you receive a type that you don't know, don't act on it. So if Superman was one of the roles, or admin came in there, don't show that to the user. That means there's a feature that your widget does not understand that has been released. You can start to implement it and build on it, but like it's important that you only display things that your widget understands. So if you receive a type that you don't know, don't display it. So that little quiz. I'm gonna let anybody answer. When you receive these two statuses back, the customer is connected and ACD is connected, what state are you in? Like what should you display to the user? You got it?
Waiting in queue.
Waiting in queue, yes, perfect. ACD is connected. There's no agent, you're waiting in queue. Great. All right, that was the easy one. All right, you're gonna get better. What's that?
Yeah, quick one. So, is there anything else involved in this flow, like edge device? Any other appliances? I know. Like,
Oh no.
Right.
It's all file.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. The digital stuff is all inside of PureCloud. Yes. All right. So what's this one? This one's pretty easy.
So they've reached the negative.
Yeah, you're connected to an agent. That's right. So you would say, you can actually, if the agent is known with their name, you can say Charles Wall is connected to the conversation and is ready to help you. You can, display all of that. It's going to get more interesting though. What about this one? Wow, I thought this was going to be hard. I should Yeah, it is. It's transferred. It said it's transferred. So one agent disconnected and the other one is connected. Nobody ever leaves the conversation. Your membership is always there. It's just you're disconnected. Once you have disconnected, though, once the user has disconnected, they will no longer be able to send messages or participate in the conversation any further. So yeah, agent 2 is now connected. So Justin Ray is connected to the conversation. Yeah, you made a cameo. Great thing.
Is it possible to have more than one agent connected at the same time?
The technology
So,
allows
team
for
testing?
it. The technology allows for it. I built it so that it would. I don't think that is a released or used feature. If you'd like that, please go to
Not yet.
go to AHA and submit it, and we can probably make it happen. Yeah, it's built to be pretty extensible. A lot of these features that you're asking about, we haven't been able to justify a use case for it, so we try and not just build everything that it could ever be, because that's actually pretty broad set. So if you want it, let somebody know.
No.
Because during the voice transfer, there's this thing called warm transfer, where both agents and the customers, 3 parties are in the line at the same time.
Yep, warm transfers. Actually, I did one yesterday calling in the Amex, and where they, I've got you connected to such and such, and yeah. So it's completely possible here where, it's just not built into it's not a feature that's implemented, I guess. The API is not going to be the limiting factor to answer your question. What about this one? What was our state here?
Customer's gone away.
All right, so conversation's over.
Yeah.
Nothing else can be done. I mean, so as an implementer of the widget, this is how you should actually detect that the conversation is over. So let's say the user is they've navigated away from the page. You come back, you load up your JWT, your conversation ID. The first thing you should do is go out and get your member in the conversation. Go out and load the information about yourself. If you're the customer and you're disconnected, then you can't connect back. Once your status has changed to disconnected, the conversation is over, and you probably should not display a widget to the user. Any questions about that?
It's another is you keep talking about maintaining state across disconnections. What do you recommend to use for that, like local storage? Or
No. I wouldn't maintain the state across disconnection. As a matter of fact, every time.
or rather, not so much state as conversation ID tokens.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So definitely local storage or session storage should be how you store the JWT, the conversation ID, the member ID, and the event stream URI. You should store all 4 of those in local storage or or session storage is probably even better. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, it's over. Conversation is over. This user disconnected. So
So again, like compare with the voice handling, there is a stage called ACW, after call work,
Yeah.
where the agents will fill out the wrap of Windows and all that. So is that the same case here, or it's different?
yes, the after call workflow is engaged when the customer disconnects. So whether the agent hangs up on the customer or the customer hangs up on the agent, the after call workflow begins immediately. So if the agent hangs up on the customer, the thing that you still key off of is your participant will be removed. So your participant will be, not removed, but disconnected. So the widget's participant will be disconnected even when the agent hangs up. So that's the only thing you have to key on to determine if the conversation is ended. And the agent side does the same thing. So when the guest participant has left, it then starts the after call workflow.
Is the agent side of this also open to customization, or is that fixed?
Yes, I'm not going to cover that in this presentation. It is there's a lot to it. And Justin would actually probably be the better person to present on that side, but that's not the scope of this presentation. And it is published actually on myPureCloud.com. You can read all about the agent API that goes along with this. All right, so you come back from a reconnect and you want to know, am I still in this conversation? This is the request you make. You go and get your member with your member ID using the conversation, and what you get back is not any surprise, just your participant information. Member ID, display name, role, join date, all the stuff we saw before. If that bottom field is disconnected, don't try and reconnect any further. Member change events. So when somebody joins, when the agent joins the conversation, you'll need something to, kind of tell you to go and get their information. So you'll receive an event like this. It'll say somebody joined this conversation with this member ID and their state is connected, and then you'll go and get their member information, as we showed before. As a helper, there's a message event that also gets displayed, and this will help you display a message in the transcript that you're displaying to the user. So you can take this message, look up their information, and generate a such and such as joined the conversation. You can see this one would be a really bad one to display a message for, because the type of message of the body type is not standard. So if you were to display this, you just have a blank message that you show to the user. It wouldn't be provoked. So always make sure to check the body type and the message to be that they are the ones that you expect. Oh, wow. 20 minutes left. I thought an hour was going to be a long time. All right. Ending the conversation. So we're almost over actually. It's a delete request to your member. So essentially you're saying, make me disconnected. Once that happens, conversation's over. It's pretty straightforward. Passing your bearer. You get a 200. There's no reply, no content or anything. It's pretty straightforward. This is the only other thing. Monitoring WebSockets for disconnects is actually pretty challenging. So the PureCloud API will continually send you event messages or heartbeat messages so that you know that you're still connected. So if you go more than, I think it's 10 seconds, I know. If you go more than 10 seconds without receiving a heartbeat message, then you know that you've lost internet connection or you've lost connection with PureCloud in some capacity. At that point, you should start trying to reconnect. You should start trying to create requests to get your member information. If you can get your member information, then you can proceed further down the path, get your history, get the other members in the conversation. But once you stop receiving heartbeats, you should start trying to make HTTP requests to say, hey, am I still in this conversation? So here's the further resources for this. Obviously, this presentation, as I said, will be made available. We have the API docs, which we plugged a couple times. The SDK. So you actually don't have to write these requests from scratch. Tim Smith and crew actually make an SDK that will make all of these requests for you, and then you can just call it in your language of choice. So if you're writing JavaScript, it will, you can just write JavaScript and it will go out and transfer this into HTTPS requests for you. And it'll use the best practices too, props them. Another thing is the developer forum. This is a place where you can go and ask questions. PureCloud web chat. So if you're having an issue and you need help, this is like Stack Overflow on steroids for PureCloud only. So I mean, you've got like the people who are actually making stuff in there answering questions regularly, and other people helping you out. So it's like open professional services. Take advantage of that. And then also we have the workshop, which I mentioned earlier. Definitely go to this if you are going to build a widget. We're going to build one in the class, so it'll be great.
Just to note, for some reason that Chat API workshop is not showing up in the app, so you'll just have to make a mental note of coming to that session tomorrow.
It is in the app. It's just not under DevCon. It's in the open. It's in the open agenda. So you have to find
I
it
guess
here.
we're inviting everyone to our developer session.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Tim and I will be co-presenting that one. We might rope in Justin. Yeah, it's tomorrow at 10:15 in Homestead 3, which is that room. Yeah. I think that's all I had. Yeah, thanks. All right, so any further questions? Yes, please.
I have a request from my business partner to tie our web chat hours of ops to a PureCloud schedule.
It's not a new request. Yeah. What if you have a request? I'm sorry, I need to repeat it. You have a request to tie your hours of operations to your PureCloud schedule.
Right. So for example, when they close down early on a particular day for a holiday, if they're letting out early for the day, or they have a team meeting and they want to close down for an hour. We've got the emergency schedules that we can set in PureCloud for the voice chat or for the voice queues, but then we have to go to our web developers and say, close our chat queues down as well, and close our.
Yeah. Do you do it by disabling your deployments?
I'm sorry?
Do you disable your deployments manually?
Yes.
Oh, so you do know. Okay, so that is the workaround right now. It is okay. And then in addition, if you're using the widget, the PureCloud widget, chat widget, there is a schedules feature built into that. Actually, it's separate though, and you have to build it into your web page. I know that's not what you want to hear. It is a planned feature to be able to integrate that with your broader schedule, so that you can configure it in one place and shut down your call center when you need to.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, so two questions. So for the message like history logs and all that, how are those messages saved and stored for auditing?
How are the messages saved and stored for auditing?
Yeah, so let's say, some auditors came in, hey, pull out the messages like history from 3 months ago and what's going on. So
Okay, so messages in this API are stored for only 10 days for GDPR and HIPAA. Well, it's mostly just GDPR, I think is the reason. So we don't store things long term, but there is a transcript stored long term. But
Yeah, so if you enable recording on your chats, then you can record that conversation, and that chat history will be kept. You'll get a full transcript of it. It won't be available through this API, like you said, but through the recordings API, you can get that, and that retention is based on whatever recording retention rules you configure.
yeah, okay. Yeah, it's not a part of this API.
okay, thanks. Another question, like I'm still confused with the member ID. So I know that that's a critical ID in and out in the APIs. So who determines the ID again? Like, is it our own internal customer like management system, or?
No. The member ID is a part of the response that you get back from creating a conversation.
From PureCloud.
Yes. So the initial request doesn't have a member ID, and then when you create a conversation, it says, this is who you are. It's like you're born and then you're given a name. This is maybe the way to think about it.
Okay.
We will name you. All right. Any other questions? All right. How much longer do we have? 15 minutes? All right. Well, I have a 3-minute video to amuse you.
Doesn't want to be dancing.
Pretty close. I got called down to the Washington Wizards to do the skills challenge in front of 20,000 fans, and it went hilariously. So enjoy it. It was self-replication. Oh, there's a little narrating from my friends who I went with. They thought it was a terrible idea. This is the first time I'd ever been in front of a large group of people, and this was the second, so. As you'll see, as you'll see, this was a much smaller group, and it went a lot better. So off to a good start. There's you feel like you're a lot faster until you see yourself in video. Slow. So I can explain. I had on a tight sweater and I couldn't extend my arms. Sure. So yeah, eventually. With a running start. Yeah. Well, that's all I have for you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to come up to me afterwards or anytime you see me during the conference. Great resources, Tim Smith, about anything PureCloud probably, and Justin Ray actually, who's also in the room. All right, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.